Good afternoon, everyone, and good day also. My name is Rudy Page, and welcome to another of our series, A Chapter from My Life and Book. I'm so pleased that this week we have Theo Chambers from Jamaica. Theo, how are you?
Fantastic.
Excellent, excellent.
Enjoying breathful days.
I'm sure the weather's good as well where you are.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll just say it is as equally as good in London.
Okay.
Great, Theo. So Theo, tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
I was born in Panama Canal Zone to Jamaican maternal and paternal grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 1966, I went to the USA, grew up in New York, and in 1969, I joined the United States Air Force as a legal specialist. And my goal was to become an attorney. And when I came out of the United States Air Force, I was supposed to be going to law school. I started work for this law firm on Wall Street. And during my lunch break, I used to love watching these magicians on the street. And surprisingly, I became the #1 Black magician in the world.
Really?
I'm the one who taught Muhammad Ali many of the magic tricks he used to do on TV.
Okay.
I used to perform in Circus in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, Boardwalk. And when I left the entertainment world, I focused on technology, web hosting, designing websites and marketing and public relations and so forth. So my passion is understanding who I am as a soul. I am 73 years old. And the question is, where was I 75 years ago? And where will I be when my passport expires here on planet Earth? Am I going back to where I was 75 years ago? And these are the questions that always excites me.
Yeah.
And I include that in my marketing and business forum where we must have a balance, because I have never seen, that's it basically, that's my passion right there.
Okay, and of course the spirit goes on.
Yes.
So tell us, what is Akashic Records?
Akashic Records.
Yeah.
Well, there are evidence that there's nothing in the human brain. The human brain is a very sophisticated decoder that decode and get information. Let me give a good example. Right now, we're all inhaling and exhaling oxygen and carbon dioxide. And it's so seamlessly done that we don't realize that it's happening. The same thing about our thoughts, our ideas. And to prove that the Akashic record, the cosmic memory bank exists, is have you read in the past where someone that is 6 years old, 10 years old, was able to recall something, a murder or an event that happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago, by detail. They can tell you that there used to be a pilot, and when you go back and do the research, you realize it was true, that person existed.
Yeah.
That means that once you take your first breath of life, that download happened. And in a capsule for you to have new experience on planet Earth. But sometimes the capsule have a crack and allow you to get information that happened way back. And that's how you're able to remember things. How come I just saw a young girl, 6 years old, on her 4th book. I mean, where you get that information? How come this kid, 12 years old, can tell you mathematics just like Einstein? Because the Akashic record is like a library where you can go in the right vibration and take information straight from it and communicate with it. And that's the Akashic record. It's the universe memory bank that could never be erased, and it's there for generation for download anytime you want it.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So why do you call the navel our first brain?
When we are attached to our mother in her womb, we're attached to the umbilical cord. And from the umbilical cord, everything that made you came through that umbilical cord. The blood, your oxygen, your food, everything. So that has to be your first brain. You understand? You know, it's like the pharmaceutical industry saying that we are alternative medicine and they're the real thing when we were there first. You understand? So the same thing is true about the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord is where everything happened. And that's the reason why 90% of the disease and so forth happens in our guts, because everything was formed from there, our guts, our internal system, you know. So that's it.
So just to follow up on that thought then, so the environment into which we're born into would have some influence on that as well then.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But what part of the environment are you referring to? What features of the environment?
And I guess that would be the challenge, because it could be many things. Just building on your thoughts.
The religion, your mother philosophy, the political ambience that's there, the school that you go to, you know, the peers that you hang out with, they all could have a drastic influence on you, definitely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, and that navel is the golden strand that we speak about.
Yes. Do you know, Mr. Page, a couple of years ago, there was an article about this lady who'd been in a coma for 15 years, got pregnant and had a child. And they found out was the male nurse that got her pregnant. Now, here's someone who's in a coma and still can have a child because your internal system have a memory and a brain of its own that does not need your consciousness to operate.
Amazing. Amazing. So what is your definition of true wealth?
True wealth?
Yeah.
True wealth reminds me of railroad tracks. The railroad is driving on two tracks, but those two tracks never meet together. They are distinct and separate. But
parallel lines, as we say.
Okay, there's a balance.
Yeah.
You do not mix your spiritual life with your business life.
Okay.
You have to learn, look, if you want to be successful in the stock market, don't go ask God to help you to be the great stockbroker. Go read the books about stock market and deal with that. And don't go to the stock market and ask them to help you to become spiritually sound and bind. They are two separate, distinct business. But in doing all of that, Mr. Page, you have to understand we have visitors to planet Earth with an expiration passport. And if you wake up every morning and look in the mirror and say, today is one less day I have to live on this earth, one less day with my mother, my father, my sisters, my sibling, you admit that to yourself every morning, then you will not be consumed by the material world. You can play the game, but it will not take over your daily life, because since you're on vacation, you also have to find time to enjoy the planet that you're on. So there has to be a balance and play the balance equally, you know, without either one consuming your entire life.
Okay, very, very, very interesting. So explain, where do we live?
Well, the last time I did my research, we live 24/7 inside of our body.
Okay.
We don't live in some house. We don't live in some beautiful car. We live 24/7 inside of our body. And if we live 24/7 inside of our body, then the most expensive things should go inside of our body, not on top of our body. Because if this body is not functioning, you cannot go on vacation.
Yeah.
You cannot go visit your friends. You cannot enjoy the beautiful clothes that you just bought. You cannot even enjoy the food that they're trying to prepare for you. And some of us cannot even walk freely downtown or go up steps and so forth. So if you understand that you live 24/7, but I want to add one thing to that, Mr. Page. If we also accept the truth that when you look at ourselves, in reality, we are seeing 37.5 trillion cells manifesting as us. And to explain that, this is my phone. Look at the shape of it. But I can show you other iPhone that don't look like this, but internal mechanism is the same. So don't confuse the look at the phone to the internal part. So each one of us look differently right now, but we are exactly 37 point something trillion cells. Now, cells, if we know we are cells, then we need to know what cells need to stay healthy. Cells do not need food to be healthy.
Really?
What cell needs is oxygen,
Okay.
energy. So whatever we eat must be able to convert itself into energy.
Of course.
So when we put things that is not energy convertible, the cells say, hold it, there's an invasion. Let me attack you. And by attacking you, it gives you high blood pressure, ulcers, you know, measles, you know, bumps, rash. Because all the cells is trying to do is to secure you like it did when you were attached to your mother umbilical cord. It knew how to build you. It knows your environment. So anything that is not, you know, recognizable, it fights it all by all means necessary.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
So, who are the two enemies we should avoid?
Boy, I would say the two enemies, the first one name is yesterday.
Okay.
There is no way to come back and get yesterday.
Yeah.
You can use it as a measuring stick, but you do not live in the yesterday and say, boy, look what this person did. Because let me put it this way. At 12:01 every night, you are given 24 hours to do whatever you want to do with it. And if you take those 24 hours and give some to yesterday, you are depriving today of those 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because today, you're just wasting time. And if you take your 24 hours and put it into tomorrow, you're wasting time also, because when tomorrow shows up, it changes name to today. When next week shows up, next month shows up, next year shows up, it's still what? Today. So if you use the 24 hours skillfully and productively today, then you will master all the days of your life. you will match it because nothing happened unless it shows up today.
Absolutely. And it reminds me of that old saying, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Second best time is today.
I like that. I like that very much. I like that very much.
As I just scanned through your book, what I found very interesting is that we're in a time of the metaverse, which to many people is new. And in your book, you talk about the multiverse network. We also talk about the 21st century skills being collaboration, creativity, communication, critical thinking. Again, there's much about critical thinking within your book. You also talk about being open-minded, which people like myself talk about the conceptual framework. So can you just give us some insight into some of those thoughts around your book? Because I'm sure this type of thinking is going to be very valuable given where we are.
Well, to lay the foundation of that, I wanted to go back to yesteryear.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Dick Tracy used to speak in his watch, and we call that science fiction.
Yes, that's right.
When we see those galactic, movie where they touch a button and the door open.
That's right. Star Trek. Star Trek.
Able to create all these stuff with these buttons and stuff. Today is reality.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I said to myself then, if I want to live in the future, I should accept today's science fiction as today's reality.
Yes.
Because there's a track record that all prior science fiction is today's reality.
Yes.
So if I know that to be a truth, then I'm not going to play game with today's science fiction. I'm going to accept it as reality.
And that's
because it will be tomorrow's truth.
Yeah.
Now, think about these computer games.
Mm-hmm.
You put on a headset and you are immersed into this game that you forgot.
Yeah.
That you are on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong? The game tricked your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It hacked it. And all of a sudden you are there doing all these stuff and you're just by yourself. If they can do that, then the question is asked, since everything exists on planet Earth and man is only learning about these things by accessing the akashic records and understand a little bit more of how the universe works, then there's a great possibility that we are avatars and there's a higher being controlling us. Okay?
Absolutely.
So there might be a duality in which we're living.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the average person will not able to comprehend how true that could be. Because my wife can tell you, thank God my wife knows I do some, because sometimes when I'm in my dream, I'm fighting and kicking and I'm in a world all by myself. Not even dreams can take you away from what the universe has. You know, it's unbelievable. This 8-pound material is so powerful, it's unbelievable, because you have individual called a servant. A servant is an autistic person with special skill.
Yeah.
One just died who could read one page in 1 minute and remember 80 to 90% of everything that he read. 1 minute, he can read an entire page, not 1 hour or something like that, right? Now, I mean, it was 1 second or something like that. What's 1 second? Look at it and he knows it. The same is true about people who can remember every detail of their life.
That's right. Dates, places.
Dates, places, everything. So when we think we are smart, we realize that we have not tapped in to 80 to 90% of our capability. Yeah. Some human have done that to prove to us that it exists and it's possible. But we have not learned how to do it yet.
Absolutely. Otherwise, we wouldn't have those pyramids, would we?
Can you imagine that? Listen to this. That's a good point, Mr. Page. The pyramid was built without so-called modern technology. And modern man still cannot figure out how we were able to move those stones, make those carving, spell it out so well. There was an intelligence that existed that was more intelligent than us.
Absolutely, because
now, let me share something with you. Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know who he is, right?
The name.
The astrophysicist, the black brother.
Yes.
He made a statement that was very profound. He said, human and chimp shares 99% of this exact same DNA. But the 1% difference in DNA make it impossible for a chimp and human to sit at a table and have a decent conversation. 1% difference, that's all it is.
Yeah, that's deep, isn't it?
Now, imagine, Mr. Page, that there's a higher being than us. We will be the chimp and then we'll be the human. So we're trying to find intelligent out there. Is like the chimp trying to find somebody as intelligent as they are when human is above them.
Yeah.
So we are way behind the 8 ball. Refuse to accept that we are chimps in the game of the universal laws. But we do have the possibility of evolving to that state and go back and find the science of yesteryear that made those pyramids and all those great inventions and Tesla and all those great stuff that happened.
Yeah, there was a process of learning, wasn't there?
Right.
So as we draw to the end, could you tell us, in terms of your book, where people can get it? Are you doing any sort of talks around the book itself, appearing anywhere?
Well, the book can be gotten by calling us at 516-499-3380 or 876-310-6612. Or they can go directly to Amazon and just type THEOism, THEOism, space and the number 2, and it pops right up.
Excellent. THEOism 2.
Any other important question you want to ask before we?
Just before we close, just explain in a couple of sentences THEOism 2.
THEOism is a lifestyle that I have adapted, where there are certain truths I accept and people who around me accept, that we are transient visitors to planet Earth with an exploration passport, We believe that there is a creator because we did not create ourselves. We believe in the akashic record that there are 5 elements that create this universe. The first one is Akasha, which is the invisible mastermind. And out of that mastermind comes fire, air, water, and earth.
Yeah.
Everything is built
4 elements.
from that.
Yeah.
And everything, and all of that came out of the Akasha, which is the master mind, the master brain, God, you know, whatever you want to call that person. There's nothing beyond the Akasha.
Yeah.
The Akasha expand and do everything and so forth. And to add to the lifestyle, majority of us believe that we do not kill other animals to survive. Anything that can walk, fly, swim, run, or look back at us, we don't eat it. And we live totally in harmony with nature. You know, we build our house by only cutting down the trees that we want to put the house into, but everything must stay. If we have to remove trees, we replant trees again. We believe that the ants and the mosquitoes and the bees and all of that plays a very important role in the ecosystem. And we are very conscious of the liquid that we drink. Make sure we're in good mind because the molecules can send negative information in our body. And last but not least, we have one motto, one philosophy. We all try under THEOism to die young at a very old age.
To die young at a very old age.
Yes, sir.
Always learning. Yeah. Great. So Theo, thank you very much for that. And it's been very enlightening, and in terms of what you've been able to share with us today. And I'm sure people will definitely would want to look up more details about you. And so your book, THEOism 2 on Amazon. And thank you very much for being on our latest version of a chapter from my life and book with Theo Chambers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And goodbye.